It is just a huge honor of mine to have a mentor and a colleague of mine for, God, decades. I mean, seriously, I can remember getting help from you when my kids were that
Long
tall.
time ago.
Yeah.
They were
How tall,
little.
how tall were my boys when you met them for the first time?
Probably about as tall as I am. And I'm short.
And Ericka Aguilar is a national speaker with over 25 years of experience as dental billing expert and trainer. She's the creator behind Dental Billers Appreciation Day, a celebration she initiated in July 2021 to honor the invaluable contributions of dental billers across the nation. With her unwavering passion and dedication, she has helped over 3,000 dental practices achieve remarkable results, maximizing insurance reimbursements with her proven strategies. From humble beginnings as a dental assistant, she is now the CEO of Veritas Dental Resources. If you're on your Latin, Veritas is truth, a multi-million dollar operation. In her book, I'm Just the Biller, she shares her journey of grit, determination, and the power of chasing your dreams. Ericka, it's an honor to have you on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me, Howard.
Um, they always said the old saying that it's your attitude determines your altitude. It's amazing how it's everything. Like a dentist will come out of school. When I came out of school, you could only get a job at like the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, unless you had someone in the family. So these DSOs are a blessing for employment. I mean, you come out with a bunch of student loan debts. They give jobs all day long, and people will work there for a year, and all they'll do is complain that something's not right or whatever. And I say, okay, you work for Rick Workman. He's a dentist. He owns several thousand offices. He's the only billionaire dentist I know. He's got jets. Um, what did you learn from working in a place that runs 2,000 offices? They can't tell you anything.
Right.
They can't tell you that they can't tell you, they can't check out a patient and bill the insurance. They don't know the insurance codes. I remember dental consulting when I first got out of school in '87. The dental consultants, people would always I always hired all of them. That's why I was calling you 2 decades ago. Because I realized that everybody that ever gave a dollar a consultant got their dollar back that year and then some more. And every time I met a dental office that was doing $3, $4, $5 million and it was just running like a Swiss clock, we couldn't think of a consultant they had. I mean, every year they'd bring in a headline major consultant, and they'd always say, "Well, they always pay for themselves." But I remember a trick for a lot of those consultants. They come in there, and the dentist would be back there, doing dentistry instead of working on his business. They can't even stop doing dentistry to work on their business while they have a paid consultant there. And they would just sit in the doctor's office and call the over 30, 60, 90 and just say, yeah, Ericka, you owe us this much money. And I was wondering, do you have a MasterCard or Visa I could put that on? And waiting for the doctor, she could collect her entire consulting fee.
Correct.
And then the guy would, and the same thing. And then at the end of the day, that if you just would audit the charts, so much dentistry was not even entered. I mean, you can enter $200 or $300. Well, did you enter that bite wing? Well, you took a PA. Well, you blah, 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 blah. And it's just like, my gosh, there's a lot more to dentistry than finding the missing canal MB2. I mean, there's just.
And it's more than that. It's more than just, did you enter the bite wing? It's more than that in these days. I think with the new codes coming out, we are underutilizing codes. Sometimes we're not updating our codes, and it's affecting the office's ability to maximize on insurance reimbursement. So I think it goes beyond just collecting from your account receivable report these days. Of course, post-COVID, everybody's AR is a mess. So we're looking to help offices clean that up while at the same time maximizing on the coding utilization.
I can't believe it was 4 years have passed since the outbreak.
Yeah.
I remember sitting in this room having
havoc.
panic. I mean, we were having panic podcasts, getting experts to speak on. Oh my God, that was crazy. It seems like an eternity ago. It was only 4 years. But tell the viewers, why would COVID mess up AR? Why is it still messing it up 4 years later?
Well, think about the mass exodus that we had. So staff shortage, nobody to work the AR, nobody to bill the insurance. So claims are timing out.
And tell them what AR is. These lot of
account receivable. Okay, so account receivable. Okay, so
I need this lingo.
Account receivable reports. So the money owed to the practice, any dentistry that's produced or earned, those balances go onto an account receivable report. And it's our job as front office administrators to collect that money. But if there is no front office team members to collect the money or to send the statements or to bill the insurance, your account receivable report just gets bigger and bigger and turns into a big monster that at some point one person's not going to be able to clean up. So we're finding a lot of that. Account receivables are a mess. Patient balances, insurance companies are getting away with just denying benefits, and then there's nobody to follow up and appeal these decisions that we don't agree with. So just a lot going on with the billing arena right now, and there's a lot of missed opportunity. But more importantly, I think we need to get better at advocating for our patients and not calling it just billing. I think at this point, we need to be more of an advocate for the patient and really help them get the benefits that they're entitled to and get our doctors paid so that they can earn what they're, what they're worth.
Yeah, and the one thing post-pandemic, you say we lost a lot of talent.
A lot.
And why do you think that was?
I think it was because of COVID. Nobody wanted to come back, being that dentistry was the number one industry that, exposure wise, we lost a lot of hygienists because of that reason. I have a dental billing company. At Veritas, we have a dental billing company. A lot of our billers are dental hygienists that left hygiene and came into the billing arena. And every day we have more and more hygienists applying for those positions.
And your website is Veritas
Dental
Resources.com.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing it did is you look at inflation. I mean, a lot of people are confused about inflation because, when people say the inflation's back down to, maybe 3%, but they're looking at every time they go to the grocery store, and that was the old inflation. And it's really hit labor big time.
A lot.
I mean, you take some of the, the goal was always 50% overhead with 20% labor. Even the hardest core 50% overhead guys I know now, their labor's up to 26%.
Oh, yeah.
What have you seen?
I've seen that the labor, because of the demand and the shortage in employment, to get a good quality team put together, we're having to pay more, which means that labor costs have gone up and insurance collections has gone down, or collections overall. So I think that if we could get our billing department systemized, then, we could maximize on insurance reimbursement, patient co-payments, things
And
like
where,
that.
where do you see labor as a percent of revenue these days? I mean,
I don't really look at the overhead
Yeah.
with offices. I look at the billing department KPIs and how the billing department is performing. But I do know, based on the feedback I get from the doctors that I work with, that they're having to pay more for hygienists. I know right now in California, a temp hygienist is making anywhere from $70 to $75 an hour, which is a lot more than they were paying pre-COVID. And
that's more than my drug dealer makes on my phone.
well, I wouldn't be surprised.
I've heard so many dentists have told me that that were my age that they never thought they'd live long enough to see their own labor go over 30%.
It's so interesting because I have a conversation with a dentist every day about hygiene and daily returns and how do I get my hygienist to produce enough to give them the daily rate that they want. And when we look at hygiene performance as one of the KPIs in the billing department, we see that most hygiene departments are underperforming and they're leaving a ton of opportunity on the table. I'm speaking from a billing standpoint. We do have a dental hygienist. She is our hygiene coach, Jennifer Lyman, and she coaches our hygienists to document for what they are actually doing. And we see a huge return in reimbursement with regards to insurance because a lot of hygienists are documenting for a bloody bib prophy, but could be a gingivitis cleaning. And most of the time you'll get paid more when you document for something you're actually doing. And then we are able to bill and get higher reimbursement from the insurance company. And that's a whole other show, Howard. I mean, it's ridiculous that companies like Delta Dental will pay less for a more invasive cleaning such as a gingivitis cleaning, and pay more for a prophy. And what I find is that offices tend to bill for benefit and not bill for what they do. And we have to remember that we have to just bill for what we do, not bill to benefit.
Before you get too into what you're doing, I know my homies, and I know where their mind is, and I think, well, humans spend half their lifetime in a fantasy, like in a dream. You sleep 8 hours a night. That's all dream. They think 4 hours of the awake days. So have you ever been driving down the road and
Mm-hmm.
you're on automatic pilot and
Yep.
and you're spaced out. You're thinking about something else. And one of the biggest fantasies in dental school and dentistry and young associates is they're not going to do the insurance game. They're going to have an insurance-free practice. They're going to do quality dentistry, and they're going to find those Americans who value their services. And I'm not knocking anybody's dream at all, but how real is that? In California, if 100 kids walked out of dental school and started up a practice, how many could go insurance-free and say, forget Ericka and all that bullshit. I'm just going to have them pay me out of their pocket.
What good is being fee-for-service if you're going to be broke all the time?
So do you see that successful business model very often?
Not in California, where I'm from. One in every six dental offices throughout the country is in California. I mean, we have entire buildings filled with 30 dentists, and there might be one in there that's fee for service, but
No, when you say fee for service, I mean you could be fee for service at a Delta provider.
mhm.
I mean, cash. I'm talking about a cash only practice.
Cash only practice where we are not dealing with insurance whatsoever.
Yeah.
I have not seen that model
Yeah.
successful since the 90s.
But you see it in plastic surgeons.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
And yeah. I've had a ton of plastic surgery work done, as you can tell. And but seriously, other than plastic surgeons doing tummy tucks and facelifts and all that kind of stuff, I don't think it exists in healthcare. I mean, Mayo
It's
Clinic.
very difficult. It's very difficult in dentistry. I mean, if you think about all of the potential or the public that have PPO benefits, I think the statistic last I saw was about 6% of all people with PPO benefits actually use them.
6%.
6%. And I think I just heard Ben mention that about 2% of all of the people that use their PPO benefits ever actually reach their annual maximum. So we're giving the insurance companies a reason to not raise maximums. And we just don't have enough of the population utilizing their benefits. And the ones that do are very driven to work with in-network dentists. They're trained that way.
And the other thing I noticed that they always say, "Well, I live in Beverly Hills. They don't need it." The richer the people, the more
conservative they are.
More they're smart with money.
Exactly. And
They
I
give up-
have clients in Beverly Hills, and they are contracted with 5 to 6 PPOs.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter. It's no longer a matter of demographics. It's a matter of, what the public wants. It's, great that you live in Beverly Hills and your practice is set up in Beverly Hills, but it doesn't always mean that you're going to be able to support that type of business model.
Yeah, and dental insurance had only started because during World War II, they froze labor.
Mm-hmm.
There was no raises. So the unions didn't have anything to fight for. So the Longshoremen's Club union fought for, well, we can't get more raises. Let's give them free dental.
Right.
And then when they got the free dental, then they had to invent a mechanism, and all that turned out to be Delta Dental of Oregon, Washington.
That life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so dental insurance is kind of reality. America's a big country. There's 330 million people. The income inequality is off the charts. Trust me, 95 out of 100 Americans, if they have an insurance plan, they're going to try to get money out. They're going to try to squeeze blood out of a turnip.
Absolutely.
And then if they got a ton of money, those are the cheapest, tightest people. I mean, really, I was across from Guadalupe for decades, and it's a very poor area. It's like half illegals. It's very, very tough neighborhood. I never had a billing problem with one person from Guadalupe, my whole deal. And even if they had a big old balance, they can only pay you $20 a month. They'd come in and they'd bring you $20. They'd bring you some something they made or tamales all the time. If they got behind on their bill, all of a sudden I'd get a bag of tamales and stuff. But in Equestrian Center, where all the big money was. Oh my God, those are the only times you'd have to turn them over to collection agency,
Wow.
and you'd see them on their driveway. And they'd have three. $50,000, $100,000 cars. It's just a different culture. So insurance is a real deal. Um, so here's the second next thing I want to talk about insurance. Um, I advise dentists that when you're going to hire an associate, the macro is pretty clear. I mean, the average general dentist makes about $100,000 a year more than the average associate. So if you had, well, here, let me just pull up the exact number. Dentists who own their own practice made 244 last year. Dentists who were employees at a practice made 147. So easy math, we'll just say 245 and 145. So there's about, so you could theoretically, the macro says you could make about $100,000 a year off of an associate dentist. Well, I tell them, I said, you don't want to pay those dentists on production because they'll talk somebody into saving the tooth, root canal, build up crown, then they get it front on them. No. You should pay him a percentage of collection so they have skin on the game.
Absolutely.
So they're not playing games. Well, if they pay him on collection, or even if they pay him on production, the dentists always feel like they're it's not above board, and they say things like, "I don't think they're adding everything," or they're not doing it right. And then I asked the obvious question. I said, "Well, at the end of the day, don't you do an audit?" And oh, they don't want to have any responsibility. They just want to sit and bitch and moan and but if you were working for me
Mhm.
and I was paying you 25% of collection,
Mhm.
what would you do at the end of the day? Or what would you do on the computer to see that everything you did, I was really paying you for?
I would make sure I have a day sheet at the end of every day and then make sure that the fees are correct. I think that, you have a responsibility to verify that what you produced and what is collectible is accurate. So I would definitely make sure. I always tell offices, make sure that every associate, every hygienist, every person who is on some type of percentage or producer on the team should receive a day sheet at the end of every day so that they know what their numbers look like. Um, and make sure that the numbers are accurate because a lot of times we're not double checking the codes that are put on there. Some offices will have multiple producers, so the doctor, the hygienist is not accurate. Maybe one patient was appointed with one hygienist and another hygienist actually did the work. So we need to verify those things and make sure that our day sheets are accurate.
And they're checking in people, checking out people, phones are ringing,
Mm-hmm.
someone's talking to them over here, and you think that you saw 12 patients today and every PA and bite wing and DO and MO, it's all just
And
perfect.
we have to know where it's going. Some x-rays go to the house. Some x-rays are given as production to the hygienist that took the x-rays. It just depends on the business model of the office, but we have to understand that and we have to make sure that we're giving our associates and our hygienist day sheets at the end of the day.
Yeah, and what do they do? That one of the things I think is very weird about dentists is, I've been to 50 countries,
Mm-hmm.
and I've walked in strange dental. I walk into them all the time. I walked into one the other day, right by my house. And but the thing is, every time I walk into a dental office, where's the dentist? I mean, I'm talking like 95
Yeah,
times out of 100 for 3 decades. Where's the dentist always?
in the back.
Yeah. And then they say things like, "Yeah, well, I'm having the assistant make temporary." Okay, well, when I make the temporary with my assistant, it takes like 3 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
and you scheduled her half an hour after the crown prep to make a temporary while you're back here on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have a hygienist because you're paying her $75 an hour to do a $70 cleaning because that way it frees you up to do a root canal. But I don't see you doing a root canal. I see you sitting at your desk at all. I mean, it's just the standard deal. I mean, you almost never can walk into a dental office and find a dentist actually working.
Yeah, and it's getting worse,
And
with
and the ones
shortage
that
of
have
staff.
and the ones that have low overhead, they'll have like a hygienist with a hygiene assistant, and work in 2 rooms. They're just I always say Superman worked out of a phone booth. You don't need and a lot of dental offices, they need an extra operatory, but the dentist has no idea where to put it, and he's got a private office this big with a private bathroom.
Oh yeah.
It's like crazy. So the dentist um how would he or she learn how to, you know, check those day reports, check the day sheet, do the dental billing? Should the general dentist learn dental codes?
I think that every dentist and associate and hygienist for that matter, I think they should know their codes. I think that that's something that is missing in accountability with regards to making sure that your billing department is running like a well-oiled engine, if you will. Um, and I think a good place to start is by doing some type of coding and billing analysis so that we understand how we're performing. What are our top codes? How are we billing them? What are some of the denial patterns that we see within the billing department? Are we sending appeals? Howard, here's something that is very interesting. And this is just going to tell you how the industry is performing overall and that we're not advocating for our patients. In 2017, the number that I remember is somewhere around $60 million in claims were denied, and only 5% of them were ever appealed. So that is only $3 million of the 60 million that were denied were ever appealed. We're not fighting for our patients. We're not advocating. We're not appealing. We're not really doing what we say we're supposed to be we're not really doing what we should be doing. And that's part of, task management within the billing department. We're just leaving money to the insurance companies as they continue to take the premiums from our patients and deny benefits. So we got to do better as an industry, as dental billers. We have to do better. We have to get better at understanding how to appeal decisions that we don't agree with. I'm not talking about frequency limitations. Those are the things that we really can't help. Those are, the employers chose those frequency limitations. But I'm talking about when SRPs are denied and we don't agree with that decision.
SRPs.
And we don't scaling and root planning, deep cleaning. When a deep cleaning is denied and we don't agree with that decision, we have to appeal it. But I find that more often than not, we're not doing a proper appeal. And by a proper appeal, I mean something that's going to change the game, something that's going to cause the office to be a whistleblower with the insurance company. We want the insurance companies to label us as whistleblowers because that tells the insurance company we don't just lay down and take a denial without fighting back. And
do you realize all the Crown and Bridge companies have been doing that forever?
really?
Yeah. So everybody that owns a Crown and Bridge lab, I don't care if they got 3 people or 30 people or 3,000 people. I don't care if it's the biggest ones, Glidewell here or Modern Dental in Shenzhen. If you never ever send back a crown, well, all the new people, they get your account. So you've been using this lab for 30 years. We hired this guy Tuesday, and he's now doing your account. The highest they'll take back is 6%. If it's 7, 8, 9, 10%, they're just like, hey, you're too extreme. They get rid of you. But 6% is about as high as they can do. And those are the ones that have all the master deals because this is the nitpick. So they want to test their materials.
Yes.
They buy all these new machines from Aguilar and all this high tech stuff. So I want to send all this new stuff to you because you're a nitpicker, you're a whistleblower.
Mm-hmm.
You'll send this back if it's not perfect.
Yes.
And even Gordon Christian, it was amazing when Gordon Christian was doing his product evaluations. He had 1,000 dentists, and he divided them up A, B, C, D, F because he knew if he gave them all to A dentists that would not be a connection to the market. He wanted to know how the whole market. So he figured like 20% were A, 20% were B, 40% were C, and the rest was D and F. And a lot of people sit there and say, "Oh, I'm a better evaluator for a CRA." It's like, okay, well, do you even know what Gordon thinks of you?
Oh my God.
You could be an A, B, C, or D. He might have picked you because he needed an F.
Yep.
He needed the worst dentist there in the world, but he really had his pulse. So yeah, if you don't,
you don't know how to play the game. If you do, and I hate to say the insurance game, but the reality is the insurance is playing their own game with dental offices, and it has nothing to do with clinical assessment. The denials have nothing to do with the clinical assessment. It has more to do with, budget and keeping premiums low. So for us as dental billers, that's where our cue is to come in and advocate for our patients and know how to appeal every decision that we don't agree with. So you don't agree with a decision, you know that you have submitted a clean, valid claim. So you've sent in a clear x-ray, you've sent in a clear narrative, and you've given the insurance company everything they need to determine that there is dental necessity here and the patient does have the right to receive those benefits. So we are going to submit a clean, valid claim. If they deny our clean, valid claim, we're going to give them one chance to pay before we get the insurance commissioner involved. So, and that's really where I see a lot of offices threatening to get the insurance commissioner involved, but they never follow through. So the insurance commissioner is an advocate for the patient. They don't care about getting the doctor paid, but they're going to get on your side when you're advocating for the patient's benefits. And you'll see that insurance companies will start sending less denials as you continue to advocate for your patient by getting the insurance commissioner, your local state or your state insurance commissioner involved. So we've seen that happen time and time again, where offices who were receiving denials for buildups, buildup is being incorporated into the crown, the payment for the crown, we see that just go away once you start to blow the whistle on that plan and let the insurance commissioner know that they're denying the patient's benefits, and they will stop sending those denials.
Man, you are ruthless.
Ruthless.
Ruthless. You got to change your name to Ruth and make your middle name Les. Ruthless Aguilar. And but that's amazing. So tell them. So if they go to your website, veritasdentalresources.com, and this is not a paid advertisement. You didn't pay
No,
me
it's
to
not.
be here. And you were helping me 2 decades ago or more. So are you more of an outsourced place? So I'm a dentist in Toledo, and I sign up with you and you help monitor my account, or do you train my staff and they do it, or explain what you're doing at that website?
So our main book of business, how Veritas started, was PPO negotiations.
PPO.
PPO
Preferred provider,
provider organization,
a type of insurance.
the
And
most
the other thing, we got a
common.
bunch of international. We have
Okay.
more international than we do.
Okay.
national.
So here in the US, most offices are contracted with about 14 different preferred provider organizations, or as we refer to it as PPOs. And we have found that about 5 to 8 of them make up the most of the practice income. So being that that's going to make up most of the practice income, we want to make sure that we're maximizing on those contracted fees. And that's predominantly what Veritas does, as they rolled out over a decade ago. I think at this point we've worked with over 9,100 offices and helped them with their negotiations. And we've moved into dental billing, medical billing for implants, sleep, things like that, and helping offices just maximize and optimize their billing department. So everything dental billing is what we do, but our main book of business is negotiating with preferred provider organizations.
And for dental specialties, which ones is insurance a big deal, and which one is it the least amount of deal? I mean, do like orthodontists? I mean, not many of their cases are covered by insurance,
Right.
are they? But
Some of their cases are covered. It just depends, what you're doing. I think a lot of orthodontists are doing a little bit of everything, and general dentists are focusing on Invisalign. It just depends.
is much Invisalign being covered?
Invisalign is a covered benefit, and there is negotiation that you want to do for that contracted rate. But for the most part, Invisalign is covered, and you are allowed to charge the patient the difference to your office fee.
So the weirdest thing about a PPO is that a dentist will sign up for. And by the way, these PPOs, these are non-government agencies.
Non-government agencies.
Because a lot of the people that are listening around the world, they think of dental insurance as their government.
Right.
Right. The only one in town is their government, but these are all free enterprises.
Right.
And you send them a fee schedule where it takes 40% off their fees.
Mm-hmm.
They'll sign up for it without even reading the contract, the fine print. And then I'll come back and I'll say, like talk to dentists. I'll say, when I got out of school, the majority of dentists 0% on advertising. And then the young kids like me back in the 80s, if you got a full page ad in the yellow pages, the old guys thought you were crazy. They're like, that's gonna ruin the profession.
Right.
And back then, if you did 2 or 3% advertising and 80% didn't do another, I mean, kid, I took a full page ad out in the yellow page when I got here. I mean, I got
Good
a
old
patient.
yellow pages.
There was only, I think there was only 6 of us in Phoenix with a full page ad.
Wow.
I mean, you got a new patient every day.
You did yellow pages, and I remember being on the front page of the Penny Saver, at least in California where we were.
Yeah, but today you'll go in there and you'll say, okay, well, right now everybody I know that's taking home more than 4 or 5 or $600,000 a year, they're all spending about 6% minimum advertising. And you say, last year you spent 2% on advertising. Let's move that to 6%. I'll say, no way. Then the PPO comes, hey, drop your fee 40%. Where do I sign up? It's like,
So true.
good God, they don't blink.
And you can negotiate the contract language. You can negotiate your contracts before you sign them. And that's also something that Veritas does, is takes a look at the contracts and renegotiates the terms, because a lot of times you're signing these contracts and they're, they have the LEAT clause, least expensive alternative treatment, where you do a composite filling, they downgrade it to an amalgam. So, you can negotiate a lot of things before you actually go in network.
And tell those young homies that come out of school, because they'll go into the big DSO and they tell them, no, we don't negotiate this contract. It's a boilerplate contract. Everybody signs the same contract. No.
Nope.
All they got to do is say that, and you whimper in your chair. God. And then they start working there and they go, well, now I want to quit. This is a horrible place. And they find out they signed a contract. They can't quit for a year. I mean, just.
It's a lot. I just spoke to, this past weekend, I was at the Arizona Dental Association conference in Glendale, and I had a specialist that works for a big name here, and they credentialed him as a general dentist, and he's an oral surgeon. He did give me permission to mention his name, but I'm not going to. But he's really upset because now he's just locked in, and he's at the mercy of that credentialing department who did everything wrong. So, there's just a lot to take into consideration.
Yeah, if it matters, the dentist doesn't even care. And then if it doesn't matter, like some weird freaky thing about TMJ, and they'll read 6 textbooks on it this thick.
Oh, yeah.
And then you'll say, what's the code for this insurance deal? And they have no idea.
Well, he found out because he actually has his own office, and his office manager said, your fees with this other company are lower than a general dentist in this area. So that's the only reason he found out, was because his office manager caught it.
Okay, now do you also negotiate the PPO fees for the practice?
Absolutely.
And how's that going?
Anywhere from 10 to 30% increase. So it just depends on the plan and the area.
Some of the dentists hear things like, okay, maybe so in a rural, but not in a urban, or is there any?
Oh yeah.
Any?
If you're in a rural area, and I think the rule of thumb is 50 miles or further from a metropolitan city, you're going to get higher fees because you're in a rural area. The closer you get to a metropolitan or a saturated city, the less chance you have to get more in negotiations, because it's a saturated. And sometimes the insurance companies will just close the network altogether, even though you are eligible every 18 to 24 months. Sometimes the insurance companies are just going to close the network because it's too saturated. So they're just not even going to be interested in helping you increase your fees.
Now, she's a Valley girl, and she thinks the suburb is Palm Springs. But when we were talking about practices that don't take insurance, I do know of several, but they're 2 hours away from where a Southwest Airlines plane takes off.
Oh, wow.
You get tucked out in the rural, and people are in your office like, well, do you want to drive 2 hours to San Antonio, or do you want to do it right now?
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
and they're already busy because they're doing a quality job, and that's the most overlooked thing in America, is that rural.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I have some clients who are out in the middle of nowhere in Montana.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, say, for example, the insurance company doesn't want to do 4 quads, doesn't allow 4 quadrants of scaling and root planning or a deep cleaning in one visit. That's one of the stipulations that a lot of these plans have imposed on offices, is no more than 2 quadrants per visit. But you're in a rural area and the patient's driving 75 miles to come see you. You can get an exception to that rule. You just have to know how to do it.
Yeah, but how dumb is that? I mean, could you imagine needing your 4 wisdom teeth pulled and they say, nah, hey, not a whole mouth.
We can
Right
get an
side, left
exception.
side. What if you need the triple bypass? No, we're not doing all 3
Well,
in
not
the
with
same.
dental insurance,
Yeah,
for sure.
no,
That's
no.
not
We'll do the
happening.
left side and come back and do the right side. Yeah, I always, and I didn't understand the left side, right side. I always preferred full mouth because, okay, so I had to breathe the right side and then they close their mouth and all the bugs on this
Right.
side are going to come swim over to this side.
Right.
I mean, it didn't even make
Those are
sense.
that's the red tape that insurance is imposing. They're non-scientific, reasons to withhold payment. And it's getting stickier and stickier. And on the flip side, it's not always the insurance fault. It is also because we're sometimes codes are abused and they're overutilized, and that causes the insurance companies to scrutinize our claims. So for the offices and I've seen offices that bill every cleaning as scaling and root planning. So it was abused and overutilized, and now the rest of us are paying the price by having these really scrutinized claims. So I think, again, going back to, as an industry, as dental billers, we need to do better.
I remember lecturing in Israel and I met a guy who wrote mathematician,
Wow.
wrote algorithms for dental companies. And his algorithm actually busted a guy I know out here, actually a good guy. And he was when you needed a crown and he thought he knew you and was a good patient. He said, you know what, Ericka, I'm just going to bill for the 2 molars. They'll pay half each molar, but we're just going to do the one and then it won't cost you a dime. They'll go, right on. Yeah. Well, no one ever turned them in, but an algorithm figured out, okay, 99% of the time, something like 94, 95% of the time, crowns are billed one at a time. And for you, 90% of the time, they're billed 2 at a time.
Oh.
So an algorithm kicks us out. They walk in there, and the ones that were done in Arizona to the Arizona Delta, that's just money, nasty stuff. But the ones that went in the U.S. mail and crossed the state line, those laws were set up for Al Capone, for mail fraud.
Yeah.
And each one of those was worth up to 5 years in jail.
Yes.
And so he served all of them consecutively, but he got busted for like 100 crowns billed fraudulently, and they put him in for 5 years in a cage.
I kicked off the year with Dr. Roy Shelburne. And Dr. Shelburne, for those of you that don't know Dr. Shelburne went to prison for 19 months for the amount of $17,000, because they don't care about the amount. They just care, did you commit fraud or did you not? And he did not do it. His biller unknowingly did it. She didn't know, and according to the law, ignorance is not an excuse.
Yeah.
You have to know. And he did 19 months for $17,000.
I only got one story better than his. And I had him on the podcast.
Yeah, he's amazing.
He's an amazing man. And I love it that he shares. I always love movie stars when they share their disease, because
Yeah.
I just like that was really cool that they would share some of that personal. But I know one dentist who, his wife was his insurance biller. Batshit crazy, just crazy. But anyway, she made all of her mistakes on Medicaid, all government.
Right.
Anyway, by the time the whole case settled, the lawyer said, okay, there's no way you're both not going to do 5 years in jail. So they had to leave the country and live out the rest of their life in Mexico. So they
Wow.
moved to Mexico City, where he practiced the last 10 years of his life. And that's an interesting thing that I learned, because when I lecture around the world, the boys, I'd always tell them, if it's an American, try to find out why they're over here, because it's always the
Wow.
craziest story in the world.
Oh, yeah.
And then they would tell you, and you go to Cabo, I swear, every dentist that looks like me, oh my God, they have, there are agents waiting for them at the border.
Are you
Well,
serious?
it's all DEA stuff. I mean, it's all
Wow.
drug stuff, they, and a lot of them
That
could
is
have,
crazy.
a lot of them could have just gone to rehab and peed in a cup, but they thought, well, I'll just go to Cabo and keep doing drugs and practicing, and it won't be a problem. So you do fee negotiations with insurance companies.
Yes.
You And that's the thing. Even on leases, I mean, I know a kid out here signed just it's a 10,000 square foot building. Signed a lease. It was a triple net lease, but of course he doesn't need a real estate agent to look at it.
Yep.
Well, it turns out that they had some big AC unit on there. Anyway, it started leaking. Anyway, the whole AC needed done, so everybody had to pay for it. It was a big old bill. So the yoga lady next door, that's a yoga class, she just walked away from release, and the little yogurt place on the other side walked away from release. Anyway, the dentist is there, been there forever. So he had to repair the entire 10,000 square foot roof because he couldn't have a real estate agent read his damn lease and say, "Well, you can't be responsible for everything."
Right.
And these PPOs that tell you, okay, let me tell you another thing about these PPOs. They say, look, no, everybody signs that. We don't play games. Okay, well, who found you the application to go to that deal? Why are they paying all these recruiters $5,000 commission fines if they find you a dentist that signs up and works and everything? Trust me, they're desperately looking for dentists.
Oh,
And then they
yes.
just tell you, well, no, you can't change. You can't dot one I, cross a T. Then that comes from the King's Writ, WRIT. And because the executioner is like, why are we executing this guy? That's not what the king meant.
Right.
And they'd always tell the king, dot your I's and cross your T's, because we had to torture 20, 30 people that had nothing to do with what your writ was talking about. But they're the next county over. No, that's what it says, and that's what you did, and
Yeah.
torturing begins. And so what is the market like now? When people are calling you, I'm trying to who is listening to you right now? Who is your typical customer that should go to veritasdentalresources.com? Or is there a phone number there or an email, or what do you recommend? Just
They
call them.
can email me directly at Ericka at veritasdentalresources.com. But to answer your question, I think
And Ericka is Ericka.
yes, that's a good point. Ericka.
Is that the Irish Swedish spelling of
No,
Ericka?
no. My parents couldn't decide if they wanted a C or a K, so they just threw them both in there.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, my Eric, if it was a girl, it's Erica. If Greg was a girl, it was Megan.
Hmm.
I had all the, I only wanted one little girl named Megan.
But did you know which letter you wanted at the end of his name, or did you do both?
I actually never thought about it until I saw your name.
That's a true story. My parents
I
could
never,
not decide which one, so they just did both.
yeah.
And it's a very uncommon way to spell Erica. So Ericka at veritasdentalresources.com. To go back to your question and answer, who are we speaking to? Who is in need of our services, and how do they know? Because you're complaining about your reimbursement all the time. Maybe you have never negotiated your fees. You also know when your account receivable report is upside down or it's 50 pages long and you don't know who owes you what. So that's another reason that you would want to give us a call. We do offer a free coding and billing analysis. And so if you want to take advantage of that, it's a really in-depth analysis. It's free, and we'll just take a look at your billing department, see how it's performing, and let you know, good, bad, ugly, good job, you don't need us, and move on. So
I sent her mine, and she just said, Howard, you're just ugly. That's all. No good, no bad, just ugly. Couple of specific questions. UCR fee positioning. Some people think, well, I want to be right in the middle. Some say I want to be in the top 10%. How do you frame UCR positioning? If someone told my homie that his fees were in the 60th percentile, and by the way, I did graduate in the top 95% of my class.
wow, that's impressive.
Get it? Top 95%.
Oh.
That means only 5% were lower.
So
Kyle got it. Kyle got it.
every time you tell a joke, it takes me a second to process. I think we did this yesterday at lunch. You told the gal, what was that joke you said about the pilot?
Oh, I said, well, you know what pilots drink when they're flying so they never get jet lag? Kyle, do you know? Plain water.
That's exactly my reaction.
Pilot,
That's
pilot,
exactly the same
airplane,
reaction I
plain
had.
water. But how does my homie know? I mean, where's he want to be in the UCR positioning?
Ideally,
I mean, everybody can't be in the top 10%.
in the 80th percentile. So it's your UCR fees, usual, customary, and reasonable fees. When you open a practice, what I find is a lot of doctors, owners are really concerned about getting the bodies through the door, and they're letting dollars walk out the back door because we're not properly setting up our billing department, we're not setting up financial protocols, and we're not setting up our fees properly. So a lot of times what I find is I had one dentist, as a matter of fact, recently who set her fees up according to her home address, not her physical location of her dental practice, which was a completely different geo zip code. So geo zip code meaning the first three numbers of the zip code, typically um, if you're like 91710 and 91721, they're going to have about the same impact with regards to fee positioning. Her home address, let's just say, was 910, and her office was like 919. So it was a completely different geo zip code, and it totally threw off her negotiations ability. So we want you to set your UCR fees in the 80th percentile because that gives you the most leverage if and when you ever decide to negotiate with direct contracts,
So the
things
80
like that.
percentile means 20% charge more than you.
80th percentile is set between so like we use National Dentist Advisory Service, NDAS. There's also Fair Health. So if you're talking about using Fair Health, I think then you're looking at the 60th percentile with Fair Health, or if you're using NDAS like we like to use, then we like to position in the 80th percentile. So it's going to start at the 40th percentile and then go all the way up to the 95th percentile. It just depends how high you want to be, like how techy is your office? Do you have all the latest and greatest technology and you're a newer practice? Well, then it makes sense for your UCR fee to be a little higher for the area because your UCR fee should be covering overhead. So we just want to make sure that you're properly positioning your fees right out the gate. And that doesn't mean that you have to charge the patient your UCR fee, that you're not charging them your full fee. If you're smart, you'll have a discount plan implemented so that you can give the patient a break legitimately, and you don't have to inform the insurance company that you gave the patient a discount.
And I can't believe we've already been 15 minutes. We're almost coming up on our hour. So finish up on dental department KPIs, key performance
Oh, okay.
indicators.
That's my favorite subject. So there's 5 KPIs that I look at. 0 to 30-day column, we like to see that 93% or more of your claims are getting paid under 30 days. Most of our offices, when we do a coding and billing analysis, we see that most offices are anywhere from 70 to 80%. So there's some room for improvement there. And we try and track patterns and determine what's happening. Why are your claims not performing at 93% or better? Then we move on to the 60 to 90-day column. That we don't like to see heavier than 5% of all insurance money owed to the practice. And then your 90+ day column, we don't like to see that heavier than 3% of all insurance money owed to the practice. And I do want to point out this is insurance AR. This is not your overall AR. So separating insurance from your patient balances.
Okay, but when you say that, I know my homies.
Yep.
A lot of them, the number one reason they don't hire a consultant because they're embarrassed. So you said only 3% should be over 9 days, and my homie's saying, "Oh my God."
Insurance money.
Yeah, I know, but,
Right.
but a lot of them are just embarrassed. They don't even want to. What's the worst you've seen?
Oh gosh. Worst insurance AR we've ever seen was about $3 million in insurance money owed to the practice, just sitting there. And if I can tell you a funny story about that, the wife was the biller and she was upset with her husband and she was purposely holding on to claims. And that was the worst. That was the worst we had ever seen. But on average, I would say offices are anywhere from 20 to 50 pages in insurance AR. And when your 90+ day column starts to get heavier and heavier, that's why we have the measurement of 3% insurance money owed to the practice. When it starts to get heavier and heavier, you run the risk of losing that money. But we will teach your team how to appeal these decisions, these denials, and make you a whistleblower so that we can get that money.
I had a dentist friend, and he back in Kansas, and he and his wife were starting to fall apart, and they went to marriage counseling, and they got better for about 5 years until he realized that after marriage counseling, she started sending $5,000 a month to a bank account in Sydney, Australia, and by the time the marriage finally failed, I mean, she had more money than he had as far as liquid cash.
I've seen that.
And my gosh,
I've seen some pretty interesting stuff.
So my gosh,
let me give you one more KPI. Yeah, so one more KPI. I gave 3. Perio performance, or hygiene performance, as our hygiene coach Jen likes to call it. We like to see that is over 60%, and our average office. And I just spoke to Dental Intel. I just spoke to those guys. Our average client, when we went back through all of the clients that we've worked with, their average perio performance is less than 10%. And that means that we're not doing a good job at treating perio in the practice. It doesn't mean that we don't have good hygienists. It means that we need better protocols. We need decision-making tracks so that we understand from a staging and grading standpoint, and I'm speaking now clinically, and I'm a parrot right now. I'm saying what our hygiene coach says. But from a staging and grading standpoint, we need to teach our hygienists the difference between a healthy patient, prophy patient, a gingivitis patient, the patient who has not been coming in consistently, and then the perio patient, which we all know looks like. But so hygiene performance, perio performance is very low. Dental Intel, within all of the offices that they have worked with, or they said that they're at a 6%. So overall, 6% hygiene performance, we need to be at 60%. So hygiene coaching is a big part of our program when we're optimizing a billing department and helping the offices treat the patients for what they actually have, their reality, and then helping them get to optimal oral health through the coaching with Jen, the hygienist. And so the final KPI is going to be days in AR. So how long is it taking your claims to get closed? So you create a claim today, and it takes 45 days for you to close that claim. It doesn't mean that it's not paid. It just means that maybe we haven't had a chance to post payments, and that could be a sign and symptom of being short-staffed, things like that. So AR performance, days in AR, hygiene performance, and those are the 5.
So,
and the free coding analysis will actually give them all of that information.
So you have on Amazon, you have the dental billing guide.
Yes.
Paperback, $149.
Yes.
And then you're the PD book.
Yes.
7 Habits that Transform Professional Development.
No, that's not my book.
Okay, that's not your book.
No.
Well, she should change her name because she.
Is it an Ericka Aguilar?
Yeah.
Wow.
Right there.
It is. No.
You should sue her for having your name.
I love it.
But anyway, do you recommend that book, the Dental Billing Guide?
The Dental Billing Guide was designed to take the guesswork out of what to do next for newer individuals in the billing arena. It has narratives. It has attachment requirements. It has all of the things that take the guesswork out of the billing. And it just becomes a resource for the front office. We also use it for dental assistants. We like the assistants to understand which attachments are required for the larger procedures. So it just removes any guesswork or any excuse of, I didn't know that I was supposed to attach that to that claim. So it just helps you to submit a clean, valid claim.
Nice. And last but not least, I'm not going to call you old because you're not nearly as old as me. Actually, you're a grandma.
I am a
Oh my
grandma.
God, I
I
should have said that.
am.
I'm sorry. Did that
That's
embarrass you?
okay. No,
Uh,
no,
it's
not at
okay to
all.
call someone a grandpa, but
Oh, I
grandma, I don't
love
know.
being a grandma.
Really?
I love it.
Okay.
She is the apple of my eye.
Well, grandma,
Yes.
unlike when you and I were much younger, a lot of these kids coming out of school, this is what I want you to finish on.
Mm-hmm.
They're coming out of school. They're not happy. They
Right.
got $300,000 to $500,000 student loans. They're working from DSO, and I try to coach them on DSOs because DSOs remind me of fast food and the fact that you take the legends Chick-fil-A
Mm-hmm.
and McDonald's back in the day when Ray Kroc was doing McDonald's. When I got to hear him speak at you went yesterday to the Arizona State Dental Convention. When I was 10, I was going to the Restaurant Association. My dad, who had Sonic Drive-ins, and I sat in the front row with Dad watching Ray Kroc. Ray Kroc would only let a franchisee own one store, and you had to be married with a stay-home wife and 2 kids at least and go to church on
Right.
Sunday because he wanted you to have your family life. You only got one location. If you're going to feed that family, it's going to be the one location. Chick-fil-A came out later. McDonald's doing 3 million a store. Chick-fil-A comes out and they blow right past McDonald's doing 5 million a store. Hell, they close on Sunday.
Right.
And then you got the Burger Kings and Subways where you can buy 11 franchises and the owner's never been in 5 of the stores in his entire life. He's
Right.
walked out of the NBA. He's a baller. He's like, I like Burger King. Hell,
Yeah.
I'll buy a dozen Burger Kings. I mean, if you ever order French fries at Burger King's, there's at least one tater tot in it. I mean,
Always.
they don't even shoot for quality. And the same thing with these DSOs. When you're working at a DSO where your office manager is running 4 locations, I mean, just go find an owner-operated DSO,
Mm-hmm.
a partner in there, where everybody's got all their skin in the game. But anyway, I want you to talk to that person. They're $300,000 to $500,000 student loans. They're working at a DSO and they're not happy. And that's why I brought this podcast back
Yeah.
because I completely retired. But the same email, they're burned out, they're mad as hell, and they always say things like, "I should have been a plumber like my brother."
Oh gosh.
So, what? On the final note, you and I both know we both had trials and tribulations. We know life's an attitude. What would you tell that burned out doc that's in the beginning of their career that's about ready to walk away?
Don't walk away. Gain as much experience as you can and pay attention and just continue to learn all the things that you can about all the administrative things that you don't understand. Try and learn as much as you can, and pay attention to your day sheet.
And what if she comes back and says, "Yeah, but Ericka, you graduated in the good old days. Dentistry's ruined. It'll never be the same. It's just going downhill. Everybody's going to be working at McDonald's." And you figure one of those chains, probably Aspen, is going to be the Walgreens or the CVS, and Heartland is definitely going to be the Kroger because they roll up names. So like out here, Fry's is owned by Kroger, and Kansas it's Dillon's. So Heartland's going to be Kroger, and Aspen is obviously Walgreens. Who's going to be CVS? I mean, you got to have an identifiable building to be that brand name, but they think dentistry is going to just turn into McDonald's. Do you believe that, or do you think it's just 2 steps forward, 1 step back?
I think that you still have a fighting chance as a private practice. And if you understand how to set your practice up for success, don't just be concerned with bringing bodies in, and also be concerned with setting up your billing department. Make sure that you understand your contracts with the insurance companies. I still think that there is a fighting chance for the private practice. And I think if you learn how to set a new practice up, or even if you're just an associate at an office, I think just finding the right office that's not going to burn you out, I think that would be ideal. But yeah, the DSOs are definitely taking over.
And do you prefer email, phone call, or website?
I prefer email.
Okay, so it's Ericka, Ericka, at
Mhm.
veritasdentalresource.com.
Mm-hmm.
And if you put the promo code Howard's podcast, she'll actually block your email. But Ericka, thank you so much for
Oh my
coming
God, that
by.
was so fun.
And thank you for all the advice you've given me and
Absolutely.
all 4 of my boys. I told all 4 of my boys I was podcasting today. They all told me to tell you hello.
Aw, say hi.
Okay.
For
Thank
sure.
you so much.
Yeah, thank you.